Hey everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards here, and today I'm profiling the 1954 Bowman football set. This weekend I plan on doing 58 Topps baseball and 54 Bowman football. And this is the 18 cards that I selected to represent this year. And it's a 128 card set. And this is the era that I've become the most passionate about just in all my sports card collecting. I've been a long-time collector of graded vintage superstars and Hall of Famers, and this is the era that I know is the littlest about, is the early 50s in football, the pre-Super Bowl era. And I just thoroughly enjoy reading and learning about these players, and these are some of the toughest people you'll ever hear about, early football players. Quarterbacks of that day were getting hit just like the other players on the field. They had a lot of different rules back then. You could clothesline people, hit them. You know, there's just all kinds of different things that you can do to players back then on the field that the refs didn't call because those weren't in the rules at the time. So the game certainly has gotten a lot more safer over the years, and these were some very tough men. And the stats are a little different in this era than they would be today because the game wasn't geared towards promoting the offense back then. It's just a different time, different game. Now, with the early 50s football that I became real interested in, because like I said, I've been a long-time collector, but mainly 50 to 56 is the era that I did not know a lot about. So I've been learning about these players over that time, as I've been accumulating my collection, and I'm hoping to finish my run of the 18 key cards that I selected from 50 to 56 this year. I don't have too many left to get, but my 54 is complete. Now, what's interesting about football Bowman compared to baseball Bowman is that even though there's over 250 cards in the baseball set, there's still many more graded examples of baseball cards than there are of football cards. I looked at the PSA population report and noted that there was 24,143 cards graded by PSA for football and over 76,000 for baseball. The best card in this set is probably the Blanda. There's only 963 examples of the Blanda compared to 4,139 of the Mantle. And for Earl Graham, who's the second best card in this set, there's only 414 graded examples versus 2,394 for Willie Mays. So big disparity between the football and baseball. And this isn't even one of the rarer 50s football sets because there were some unopened wax finds, I believe by Mr. Mint in the 80s or 90s that really helped flood the market some with them, but they're still not very common compared to its baseball counterpart. So first player I'm going to look at here is Doug Atkins, and he was a defensive end who played from 1953 to 1969. He was 6'8" tall. His career began with the Browns, and he played also later with the expansion Saints, but he was more known for his time with the Bears. He was the most imposing figure of his era at 6'8". He had size, strength, speed that would overwhelm offensive linemen. It was said that linemen would say during the game, "Don't make Doug angry," because when he lost his temper, he was even harder to deal with. And he was such a great athlete. I saw footage when I was studying for this video of him jumping over offensive players to get to the ball carrier. It's just how great an athlete that he was. And the NFL Network named him one of the top 100 greatest players of the first 100 years of football. And he was also the 9th greatest pass rusher of all time, as said by the top 10 in the NFL Network. 8-time Pro Bowler, and he also won 2 championships, one with the Browns in 1954 and one with the Bears in 1963. Quarterback Norm Van Brocklin told a story about how in 1961, Doug Atkins picked up a Vikings offensive lineman, Grady Alderman, and threw him about 10 yards into the quarterback. And then it was also said during a segment in 1983 about Atkins on NFL Films show, This is the NFL, the legendary narrator John Facenda described Atkins this way: like a storm rolling over a Kansas farmhouse, he came from all directions, and all there was to do was to tie down what you could and hope he didn't take the roof. This is Doug Atkins. And next to him we have Joe Perry, Joe the Jet Perry. He was the UPI, United Press International MVP in 1954 with 1,049 yards rushing in just 12 games. He was the only 1,000-yard rusher that year. In second place was his backfield mate, John Henry Johnson, with just 681 yards. Joe the Jet Perry retired. He was the all-time leading rusher in the NFL. Here's Norm Van Brocklin. Norm Van Brocklin led the NFL with 2,637 yards passing that year. Next to him is Ollie Matson. It looks like a nice Heisman pose. Tom Fears, he had the single-game receptions record until Terrell Owens broke it. I'll profile him in another video. Here's the rookie card of George Blanda. As we know, Blanda played well into the 1970s. He had a very long career. I don't know if Tom Brady broke his record, but he's certainly challenging it for longevity. And then down here we got Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch. And then next to him is just one of my favorite players of all time. This was Tom Brady before Tom Brady, okay? This guy here, Graham started his career in 1946 with the All-American Football Conference, where he led the Cleveland Browns to 4 consecutive championships from 1946 to 1949. The AAFC, as it was known, was a very comparable league to the NFL, okay? The NFL was just a fairly new league in and of itself as well. So it's not like the USFL versus the NFL. These were very two close comparable leagues. And what did the Browns do to prove my point? When they went to the NFL in 1950 after the merger, they took on the 1949 champions Eagles in Eagle Stadium in front of over 71,000 fans. The Browns destroyed the Eagles in that game 35-10. The Browns tied the record, tied with the Giants that year in 1950 with a 10-2 record, and they ended up beating the Rams in the NFL championship, and the Rams still hold the average scoring game record of 38 points per game, and the Browns beat them in the championship 30-28. Graham played 10 seasons of professional football and went to the championship game every single year he played, and he won 7 championships. The Browns' record with Graham as starting quarterback was 57-13-1, including 9-3 record in the playoffs. He still holds the NFL career record marks for 8.63 yards per attempt. He also holds the record for the highest career winning percentage for an NFL starting quarterback with 81%. Brown was a 3-time NFL MVP and a 2-time AAFC MVP in just 10 years. Brown could run, he could throw, he can do it all. One of the best quarterbacks of all time. Here we have Y.A. Tittle. Another great quarterback, and then Bobby Lane as well. Hugh McElhenney. Frank Gifford. Down here we have Chuck Bednarik. It's a great card running right at you. Leo Nomalini. And here's the rookie card of another great lineman of his day, Lou Creekmore. And Creekmore, he was an offensive... Actually, this is not his rookie card, but this is obviously his 54 Bowman card. But this is Lou Creekmore, an offensive lineman with the Detroit Lions. And he was 6'4", 250 pounds at offensive line, which is not very big for that time. Or for that time, it wasn't too bad, but and nowadays you'd be tiny for an offensive lineman. He played left tackle and some guard for the Detroit Lions. He played with the Lions from 1950 to 1959. He played 168 games in a row. He was a 3-time NFL champion and 7-time All-Pro. And in 1976, sports writer George Puskas jokingly dubbed Creekmore as perhaps the finest holder, meaning holding other players of all time. Puskas recalled that Creekmore would cup his hands in front of his chest to grab a handful of jersey on the edge of the shoulder pad, and noted, "I remember telling Creekmore in his later years that I would spend the entire game just watching him to make note and study his craftsmanship, perhaps compose an essay on it." During his playing career, Creekmore worked a second job as a terminal manager for the Saginaw Transfer Company, and he made more money doing that than he ever did playing in the NFL as an all-pro player. Times were much different back then. And here we got Dante Lavelli. Great corner, Emlyn Tunnell. And finishing up with defensive lineman Ernie Stautner. So I appreciate your time in looking at this video. Let's do one quick last scan of the 1954 Bowman set. And I know, again, there's not as much passion for football as there is baseball in this community, but hopefully these videos will help you learn a little bit more about these great, exciting players of the 1950s. And this has really become one of my passion projects, especially since I've completed a lot of my baseball runs that I wanted to do. Everybody have a great, great day.